This is Sybert signing into Kane's Wrath on the map Tournament Arena. The lovely, endless green fields of Tournament Arena in the north as the green black hand. Give it up for Drive. And in the south, his most classic opponent as the cyan nod. This is Futurama. I saw this replay, and I was like, Tournament Arena? I want to see Drive versus Futurama on Tournament Arena. That sounds like it could be a really fun matchup. Turns out it's Nod versus Black Hand, so we will either have just masses of Scorpion tanks or probably a very man-spammy kind of match, but it's been kind of weird with casting so many tournament games recently. As I've said, this is like an incredible year for competitive Kane's Wrath in terms of the number of tournaments that we've been having, but when you cast tournament games, they're sort of set for you, and it's like if you're going to cast the quarterfinals, you cast the quarterfinals. You can't just like skip over individual games. I mean, I guess you could. Ooh, Fast Ops Center coming out here for Drive. He went for a pretty heavy anti-scout as well, so he's got quite a network of Cabal squads keeping the militants at bay, at least for now. In mere moments, this flame tank will be known about by Futurama. An immediate sell-off of that Operation Center. Now, the Black Hand Squad sometimes is just used to burn down the tib spike. Sometimes they loop around and they try and put additional pressure on a building that the flame tank is also attacking. But it's going to take a while for that Hand Squad to get there, so we'll see exactly what Drive chooses to do. Well, Futurama definitely knows what's coming his way at this point, but it's just kind of nice to have individual replays and not everything be, you know, a long series or you have a whole bunch of replays to get into. Flame tank is rolling up. Shredder turret is the first thing to tag it, and this MCV is going to be very damaged by the time these bikes and this flame tank are done with it. In fact, there may not actually be an MCV. There's only 2 Scorpion tanks here in response. Great block utilizing that Hand of Nod, but it's just a temporary solution. There's the pack up of the MCV, so the bikes will get the kill, and the flame tank will eventually go down. Double vent status for that bike. Wow, Drive has just parked his MCV right out front of Futurama's base, so this game is going to be very close quarters. I mean, as close as Tournament Tower, despite the fact that Tournament Arena is a little bit bigger. It often gets very close very quickly, but what is the follow-up? This is going to be double refinery from Futurama versus single refinery from Drive, and because Drive is not just transitioning into a normal game, he's actually kind of painting himself into a corner. He wants to end this game pretty darn quickly right here, right now, but it's going to be Defender's advantage, Scorpion tanks, rocket squads against, well, bikes. And now the MCV is back up and running, but it's an MCV cell for Drive. Wait, so I don't know that this is actually a very good build anymore. I mean, initially it looked like some fantastic damage being dealt, but I'm not actually sure that this is a good build anymore. So the first Shredder turret is about to come up. It'll help disrupt those Rocket Squad lines, and it'll allow these Scorpion tanks to perhaps deal with the bikes a smidge easier. Getting that Black Disciple upgrade is a great move by Drive, and he is going to be able to pump out some reinforcements directly onto the front line, but for how much longer? With this Hand of Nod being this close to Futurama, it's just going to get camped and destroyed, and now Futurama, with 2 refineries, is ready to set up his natural expansion. Might want to move his MCV a little bit further to the north, but he's completely held this weird wonky attack, which started out pretty straightforward and started out pretty powerful, and now Futurama is dead unless he rebuilds his MCV, gets his economy back in shape, or just does unbelievably critical damage to Futurama from this point forward. Like, if that MCV had packed up and he had caught the MCV, I guess as long as the bikes avoid the Scorpion tanks in a direct engagement, they could potentially swing back around and kill some harvesters, but I don't know. Okay, so the MCV is back, and now I guess it's like almost a normal game. Futurama has better eco, but he's also harvested away more of the field. Drive managed to get out a third harvester at some point, so he's actually not that far behind. 3 harvesters don't line up for very long at a refinery, especially with this kind of drive distance. As you can see, it's going to pause there for a couple of seconds, and then the exchange will happen. So it's not perfect kind of, it's not the perfect kind of saturation, but it's not that far off. And I guess we just transition now into a normal game. Futurama drops his refinery up north. He's going to transition to his natural expansion. Of course, Tournament Arena, one of those maps that really only has 2 fields. You can count the blue field as a third, but it harvests away so quickly that it does not give you the longevity of a green field of this size. But with how much this is built up, it probably has close to the cache of it. Probably about half, maybe 2/3 of this green field for the cost of this blue Tiberium. Well, there's the Hand of Nod coming back up for Drive. Futurama got 1 refinery. Will he drop a second? It looks like he's got out some other buildings instead. Power plants, ops center. He's getting up his tech. Transitions 1 harvester to the blue field, but it looks like it gets stuck on the bikes. A little bit unfortunate there for Drive. And yeah, so we're just going to kind of transition into a semi-normal game from here. It is still Black Hand versus Nod, so Nod gets the advantage of Venoms, laser capacitors. Drive does have the advantage of being able to spam out Black Hand members at an incredible rate. You know, all of these Cabal squads, all of those Rocket squads. They both get those delightful, delicious 1-clicks, so we can expect some Catalyst missiles probably in the next minute or 2. And now a Flame Tank comes out from Futurama, but it gets spotted immediately by that Rocket squad. A second Rocket squad is going to get at least 1 shot off, maybe even a second shot, as well as the bikes are actually going to go down to meet it. Is it just 1 Flame Tank? No, it is at least 2 Flame Tanks. We'll try and keep an eye on them as Drive deals with 1 very easily. The second one, maybe not so much. And is this a 3rd Flame Tank? Yes, it is, coming out from Futurama. And this kind of mid-game Flame Tank alternation, where you send 1 to the north, 1 to the south. It's one of those things that I always try to do, but I never can quite execute on the same level as Drive Futurama and some of these other guys. He's going to burn down the tip spike. Not a bad idea. Going to force a response from Drive for right now. He's going to maybe be pulling his entire army up to the north. And it looks like the infantry are going to be utilized in the south to deal with this Flame Tank. Very nicely done by Drive. So Futurama has tried a couple of things. None of them have worked. And now it's going to be bikes versus... Actually, whose Flame Tank was that? I guess those are green bikes. It almost looks like they're cyan bikes with the coloring. And now Futurama is base pushing in the exact same way that Drive was previously. Another Flame Tank right on the front line lights up the Fanatics, those Panic Fanatics, as it's actually going to be, I'm guessing, supercharged particle beams. Well, I guess just charged particle beams to make those Shredder turrets that much more effective. Could be Tib Core instead to make the bikes that much more effective. Either one would be a good upgrade. Bikes might get the more benefit at this point. But first Obelisk is down, and has Futurama teched up to Tier 3? The answer appears to be no, so it's just going to be Scorpion tanks, no Redeemer, no Obelisks for Futurama. But there goes another Flame Tank. It gets eliminated. Is there one more anywhere on the map? It looks like the answer might be no for the current moment. Futurama, I think, is all out of Flame Tanks. He's going to try and cycle around to the south side of this Tiberium field. He's going to put pressure on the Harvesters directly and then go for the crush on that Black Hand squad. At the same time, maybe bikes swinging over from Drive side to Futurama side and snag themselves a Harvester. Drive does indeed have 3 Harvesters completely not harvesting at all. Might be worth sending one of them backwards, even though it wouldn't be very efficient to harvest from that original field. It would be better than nothing. Love the use of a couple of Scorpion tanks around the side to try and find openings, to try and find weaknesses, but it's been seen out. Killing one of those Harvesters was a bit of a tell, and in this case, it looks like the Obelisk will be the response. The bikes are not in good enough numbers to shut down those Scorpion tanks, so Drive will have to come up with something else. Operations Center now on the front line, and something else is about to come up for Futurama. More tanks being split off. Again, I love these little pockets of tanks being utilized by Futurama to cause so many problems for Drive. It's not necessarily a way to win the game, but it's a way to create some more space in the match so that you can have an opportunity to transition to something that will hopefully win you the game. Sniping a power plant, sniping a refinery, not game-winning moves in this case. They just get sold off, but they do provide a little bit of cover for whatever Futurama is trying to get to. Okay, it was a war factory. He wanted a war factory on the front line so he could get his reinforcements right into the action. And Futurama still has a decent economy behind this. He's using that to fuel some beam cannons to target down this Redeemer. The beam cannon's now going to be targeting something else. Only one of them trying to burn down this Redeemer with the MCV in between them, causing some problems for Futurama's forces, and he's going to be out of cash relatively soon, but he's got another couple of minutes to try and stop this Redeemer. The Obelisks are getting some shots off, but they're finally burned down, and the Redeemer continues to flame down the con yard. This might be it for Futurama's push. He needs to do something to stop this Redeemer and to stop Drive from taking this game. Good numbers of Scorpion tanks, but Drive has defender's advantage. Sells off a couple of refineries, and it's going to be the beam cannons. He's not selling those off. They're getting melted by the beam cannons, and it actually is almost a base race with the amount of damage that the beam cannons are able to do as quickly as they're able to do it, and from as far away as they're able to melt these units. Big ring of Scorpion tanks getting the damage on that Redeemer, and the rear armor is critical here as he just barely backs out of range of the beam cannons, and Drive is trying to find some smidge of protection from those beam cannons, which were just melting down his Redeemer. Drive buying himself some space, but he's got no refineries. One refinery now on the front line. He lost every other refinery, and he's got so much cash in these Harvesters, but nothing to do with it. 2 war factories, 2 refineries on this field for Futurama, and Futurama might just try to avoid fighting the army at all costs, draw the Redeemer out of position, and burn down what few remaining buildings Drive still has. Ton of blue Tiberium in the corner for Drive, not so much for Futurama, as he's done a good job of siphoning away that blue Tiberium and extending the length of his green field. And that definitely has helped pay for the sheer number of units that he has thrown at Drive. Backs off with the Scorpion tanks up to the north side of the map. Some of these squads hanging out in the Tiberium, going to be taking that bit of damage from it. The beam cannons, absolute heroes for Futurama. They've done so much work. Futurama gets a great crush of a lot of these infantry units there. Futurama is going to be coming in for the smash, and he's just going to burn down the buildings. Keep in mind, Drive just has 2 buildings left, so Futurama doesn't actually have to kill the Redeemer. He can do this the other way and just destroy the buildings instead. And Futurama, honestly, if he could initiate a base trade, he would win it as long as the beam cannons could start targeting down these structures. I guess he could try and swing way down far south and go for the MCV around at an angle, but then, of course, his beam cannons would be entirely exposed. Drive leaving that Harvester there. A little bit unfortunate that he didn't notice it wasn't harvesting. That's one of those things that does indeed happen fairly often. A couple of these Harvesters, I can't tell if they're auto-harvesting or if they actually are queued up with the army to potentially be used as crushers. But it looks like Futurama might actually just be trying to steal some of Drive's Tiberium. Drive going to go ahead and start harvesting from his normal field at this point. His original field, I should say. And Drive is going to go for the blue Tiberium. Meanwhile, Futurama is going to go for the assault. Harvester's on the front line, but it's all Scorpion tanks all day. And is he just going to try and bust past the front? There's the deploy of the MCV. Drive is not going to be caught with his MCV in that kind of a position. The Redeemer is going to reveal the rear armor and take a bit of damage there, but it does protect, at least for the current moment, 1 or 2 or 3, 4, 5 beam cannons maybe. At the current moment, the Redeemer is just on the edge of the range there. The Harvester's going for the crush, and Futurama is clearing out absolutely everything except the Redeemer. Drive desperately trying to get more and more units out onto the field, but he can't stop the beam cannons. They're pushing the Redeemer further and further back, which the Redeemer could 1v1 the tanks if he could only get these stupid beam cannons off his back. But it's not meant to be. The Harvester's getting targeted down now, and everything for both players has almost evaporated, but the beam cannons stand strong. Futurama continuing to melt through the armor of the Redeemer, and once again he pushes it back just another couple of inches. That power plant, which was supposed to body block for the Redeemer, is now gone, but so are the Scorpion tanks. With the last Scorpion tank falling, there's nothing to buffer for the beam cannons, and Futurama doesn't want to fight it out. He taps out and leaves the game. GG! Drive takes that very unorthodox match on Tournament Arena. These guys almost always such an entertaining duo to watch, and such an exciting match on Tournament Arena. The beam cannons nearly winning it for Futurama, but Drive will be the victor. That will do it for this game. Thank you all very much for watching this video, and this is Sybert signing out.